Welcome to Adeptus Titanicus, official podcast of the Titan Owners Club. The following is a production of the USA branch. Please enjoy. The brilliant mind behind the Legio Victorum, ADH, and just his amazing engines, what inspires him. We're going to get into that in today's Titan Owner interview for Adeptus Titanicus. Welcome, and we're happy to have you here, Adie. How are you doing today?
Brilliant, and thank you for having me.
So, Legio Victorum, ironically, sounds close enough to Legio Astorum, which is the first time I'd ever seen your engines. I looked at the name of the Legio, and I'm like, maybe somebody misprinted that, especially because you look at it, and a lot of the colors are pretty similar. It's as you've developed these Titans, you see the difference in that scheme. And it's just flat out amazing, especially with those rich blues that you have. What prompted you to go with the Legio Victorum?
Well, I was going to go with Astorum, but I've already had Imperial Knights with chevrons, so I kind of wanted something that had fit that theme. So having done a little bit of research on the internet, I found Victorum, which was a Legio from way back, from the original Titanicus game. And they had got the chevrons and the blue, so I was thinking, we'll go with them. And because not a right lot is known about them, I could kind of have the freedom to do my own thing.
So that freedom definitely gave you a lot of wiggle room to work with. How much of that existing lore are you using, or are you taking advantage of the fact that there is so little that you're able to create your own now?
Yeah, originally I did my own thing completely. But started to read a little bit more and more, and there's quite a lot of confusion over the years, and I think things have been retconned and changed, and all that is about to change because the next Horus Heresy book coming out is going to feature Legio Victorum. So they're about to get a whole lot of info, official info.
Yeah, well, to be fair, one advantage that you have is if you're playing Warhammer 40,000 games, color schemes have changed in the last 11,000 years. So that's definitely a blessing you'll have available to you if you're taking that route.
Yeah.
That rich blue, I was not kidding. That is an amazingly rich blue that I, as an Astorum player at the Titanicus scale, I'm looking at and I'm like, man, I want to steal that from my Titan Legion, but it's definitely not the right color. How did you come about developing that beautiful color?
Well, I've been painting Crimson Fists since way back. I started in '87 when Rogue Trader came out. And so I'm used to blue. I've done a lot of blues. So I kind of did the recipe that I've just stuck to for them, really. And my Knights are also that blue. But it's the black. It's the black edging that brings the blue out. If you didn't have the black, it doesn't look deep.
That's a really interesting thing to point out. I had not thought of that when I saw it. So it shows that there's definitely an old hand behind that brush. And I say that, you've quoted Rogue Trader, you've literally been in the hobby as long as I've been alive. So clearly I've still got some skills to pick up at some stage.
Yeah, I was 11 when Rogue Trader came out, and I really wanted to get into the hobby. Originally looking at fantasy stuff, and I remember walking into the Games Workshop, and he was saying, well, hang on, because in the coming weeks, we've got an exciting new game coming out. And it's all going to be futuristic, guns, tanks, and I was sold. Before I'd even seen the models, I was like, I want in.
So you've been at this for quite some time, and a lot of people, it would be really easy to put two and two together to say that because you've been in the hobby so long, Titan ownership was just going to become a natural part of things. But while it's an easy jump to make, that's not quite true for everybody because they're not exactly cheap kits or anything. What got you into Titan ownership?
Just having the love for Titans, like you said, I've been into it a long time and found Forge World years ago, and I was like, that is the coolest thing. That's got to be the pinnacle of a collection, right? But the price tag, like you said, it's very difficult to justify sometimes. So with me, it took a lot of sacrifice to be able to save up for the Titans, and it makes you enjoy them that little bit more for me, that they're not just something you go buy off a shelf and throw together like a Space Marine kit, you know.
It sounds like Titan ownership means quite a lot to you already.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. It's I feel really privileged to be a part of the club, and I do feel privileged to have the Titans as well, and I love them. They are just the coolest models to me.
We're privileged to have good members such as yourself and everyone who's a part of the club. You guys really are the beating heart of everything that we do. And so when we see something that special, it's always good to be able to point that out. And it sounds like this had been a dream long coming for you. For those not familiar, what comprises your current Titan collection?
Right, so I have a Warlord, a Warbringer, which is still in its box, a Reaver Titan, and 2 Warhounds.
It's an impressive collection, and a very strong maniple, an Axiom backed up by a Warbringer.
Yeah, you see, I would really love to add another Reaver to it in time, but it's not a gimme.
The age-old comment of more money than sense.
Yeah. For me,
would you say that's actually true of us Titan owners?
I don't know. It's not something that you see. I was at Games Workshop last year, and someone was talking about Titans, and you know, the guy said, "Oh, Adie's got a couple of Titans," and he said, "Oh, you must be absolutely filthy rich," and I was quite offended by that, actually, because it's hard work and it's sacrifice, and I give up quite a lot of other hobbies to be able to concentrate and be narrow-minded in the quest for acquiring Titans. You know, don't go to concerts and don't have fast food and don't cut back everywhere, and inject it into the one thing. And for me, that also meant giving up 40k as well, and not buying all the kits. So, you know, then you can get your Titans.
But you've done it in a patient and responsible manner.
Yeah, exactly. The bills get paid.
So you got a pretty impressive collection. What was the first one of that group?
The first one was the Reaver, and I thought it would be my one and only Titan.
Yeah, that usually doesn't seem to work out for a lot of people. For some people, it's you start with a Warhound, and a Warhound then turns into you have to have a Warhound hunting pack.
Yes.
And if you get a Reaver, it's like, okay, I want to go bigger, or
yes.
I want the little baby. It's infectious.
Very much so. Very much so. And it brings about, I don't know if you know, but I've got a bit of a health problem. Like I've got a degenerative spine. So when I was looking into Titan ownership, I'd already saved the money for the Reaver, but I was a bit put off pulling the trigger and going for it because I didn't know if I'd be able to manage to build the kit. So I contacted one of the guys from Titan Owners Club UK privately, and he was amazing, so welcoming, and was like, "You'll do it, and if you can't do it, I'll come and help you do it, and we'll do it together." So
that's the brotherhood that exists within our community, and it's something that we take a lot of pride in.
Yeah.
Titan owners seem to get along with each other extremely well and be very supportive.
Yeah, I've got a million stories like that, actually. So many people reached out and was like, if you get stuck, then, just reach out and we'll come, regardless of distance, we'll come round and we'll finish it.
And they're probably the same people that are going to want those first games with you as you complete a specific Titan.
Yeah, I think so. I've not done many games with them yet, but it's something we're looking into.
Well, the annual walks should certainly be a great opportunity to take the Legio Victorum and stride the battlefields and get to meet those people and show off what you do, especially with such beautiful Titans as you already have.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate those kind words. I work hard on them.
So what comes next for your Legio?
Well, I've got the Warbringer, which is still I got it last weekend, so it's still sat in the box. So I need to finish the Warhound that I'm currently working on. and then I'll start the Warbringer.
Once that's done, any supporting knights, Secutari, Mechanicus running around killing things to help with the squishy stuff at the bottom?
The thing is, when I came out of hospital in 2018, I just had my first lot of spinal surgery. And I had a lot of downtime. The whole summer I couldn't do anything. And I hadn't painted miniatures, actually, for a couple of years. And a friend of mine was selling his knights. And I was like, I might just give that a go. It's something I can paint from bed, you know, it's light and easy. I didn't realise how addictive that was going to become. And by the end of summer, I'd got 10 knights.
And the thing is, they always look so big and intimidating. And the irony, and Titans prove this one as well, the irony is that those bigger kits end up being easier to paint.
Yeah, I think so. Because I could paint the panels individually, and it was easy for me to hang on to because my fingers aren't great. So yeah, I found that I could paint them relatively easy, but it did set the seed for craving something bigger though.
It gives you a very huge canvas to work on, both literally and figuratively. And
yes.
It sounds like, because there's so little on the Legio Victorum, you had a lot of wiggle room in setting your heraldry. How did you go about doing that?
Well, basically, I did a lot of what I thought about doing with my knights, but with the knights being smaller, I couldn't use some of the schemes that I'd thought about in my head. So when I got the Reaver Titan, before I'd even gone to Forge World and purchased it, I'd had that scheme exactly like it is worked out. Like to the letter, it came out exactly as I imagined it would do.
So at some point, are we going to see this scheme on a bunch of mini-me Titans, or are you just sticking to 28mm?
No, I bought the Grandmaster edition, and then I bought the latest box set with the Reavers and the Warhounds in. But I haven't built them yet. I've been so busy with the 28mm stuff. So I thought that could be a good gap filler between Titans. I can work on mini Titans, but I just haven't had a gap. I've just kept going with big Titans.
Safe to say you're going to do Victorum and Titanicus as well?
Absolutely. I'd love to replicate them, like each engine exactly like they are, but it depends on whether I can manage it with, like I said, with my hands being the way they are. And they're very fiddly models. So
they actually go together really easy, believe it or not.
Yeah, I was looking at the Knights thinking this could cause me some problems. But we will see. I've not built them yet.
The Knights take probably the most patience of the whole lot.
Yeah.
But if you take your time, you'll definitely be fine.
I'd love to be able to do it.
Yeah. And as you go through, you'll be able to tell the story of your Titans across multiple different ages. That's got to be a thrilling prospect for you, right? Because there's just so little out there. You really, while you're running off of something that's established, you don't have the same story to hold you down that, say, Gryphonicus, Astorum, Mortis, and Furians have.
Yeah.
How much wiggle room does that feel like it gives you? That freedom has to be exhilarating in its own right.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of wiggle room, because I mean there's been talk of the Legio going all the way back to the Heresy and before, so they've been around a long time. So I can pick a point in time and go, this is my Titans that year, or and not have to worry about the lore that much. Although we'll see where they take it with the forthcoming book.
Yeah. So we've been talking about the lore a lot. How much do you read when it comes down to that? Titanicus is usually held as the gold standard. We have Warlord, Fury of the God Machine, Imperator, Wrath of the Omniscient. We have a lot of good Titan books out there. How often do you find yourself reading them?
I haven't yet, to be honest with you. It's something that I want to get into, but it's just having that time, because my time is taken up with painting Titans. I don't get anything outside of that, to be able to just sit down and have a day off to read.
Have you considered actually painting your Titans while listening to the audio drama versions?
Yeah, that would be amazing. It's something that I definitely would be interested in doing. But yeah, I usually paint my Titans 7 days a week. I'm a slow painter, so I don't always get a lot to show for my time. But yeah, I paint every day.
You paint every day. Now that is some dedication.
Yeah. And last year was tough because that was when I had my second set of spinal surgery. And that one came with a lot of restrictions, which I wasn't expecting. And I was halfway through my Reaver build. And they turned around to me and said, you can't lift more than 500 grams for 7 months. And I was looking at my Titan going, I can't even pick it up.
For those of us here in the US, we're probably struggling to put 500 grams into perspective, even if we've had our chemistry and physics classes.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure somebody out there is going to go hit up Google and find out how many pounds that is.
Yeah, I don't know in pounds.
That had to have been...
It's about a cup of tea. It's about the weight of a cup of tea and no more.
And I'm pretty sure most of us can envision that. They're just over here in the U.S. probably envisioning their coffee first thing in the morning.
Yeah, but not a US-sized coffee, more like a thimble-sized coffee that we have. So yeah, it is a minuscule amount, and I had to paint the Titan just in bits, and then glue as I go because I couldn't lift the whole thing up. So yeah, it was like painting the head, painting all the armor panels, and painting the legs, and the everything's magnetized, so they do break down pretty well. But yeah, I had that restriction was hard to work with.
It sounds like for you, having your Titans and being able to work on them is actually quite therapeutic.
Absolutely. I don't know where I'd be without them, to be honest with you. They give me a day-to-day escape, like a little Titan bubble that I live in. Yeah, I'd be lost without them.
What do you hope to eventually add to Titan ownership?
Add to it, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I'd like to be able to meet more people, attend some more events. Obviously, traveling is an issue for me. I can't travel very far, and most of the events are in the south, so getting to them would be a problem. But Warhammer World is only an hour away, and the Titan Owners Club UK are looking at doing a northern walk, so I could get to that. That'd be
well.
Really...
We can certainly see how that shakes out in the future. Have your Titans made it to Warhammer World yet, or were they just purchased from there? If they were from there and not Forge World Direct.
Yeah, basically most of my Titans, apart from the Warhounds, we went to Warhammer World to buy them over the counter.
Is there a picture of you holding a red box right next to that rhino?
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I've got one for the Reaver, and then I did that again for the Warlord, which was a lot of packaging to hold.
How did that feel, getting the King of the Titans that's, at least for now, available to us?
Crazy. Inexplainable, really. The feeling, because I saved for a long time to get it, and we were counting down the days. This is going to be amazing. And it filled the car. There's so many boxes that comes with that kit.
Did you buy just like everything that was available for the Warlord at the time?
Not all. I bought the weapons that I wanted, but it was still 2 big red boxes for the body and legs, and then a box for the head, 2 boxes for the arms, and another box for the carapace weapons. So it comes with a lot of packaging.
Sounds like opening those red boxes had to have definitely been a heck of a joy for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it was quite a daunting kit to make, even after doing the other Titans. I thought it was the hardest. Some people say, well, it's a newer kit, and it's CAD designed, and it goes together so much easier. While that's true, it's also a juggling act at times. You feel like you need an extra pair of arms.
The legs, I actually did. My wife had to assist me.
Yeah,
and I can honestly say that was the most stressful part of any Titan build I've ever done.
Exactly the same.
Overall, the Warlord actually was very pleasant to build, and I did take my time with it. I didn't fly through it. I completed in about 30 days from when I started. And I finished, and my wife saw the look on my face, and she's like, "What's wrong?" Because I looked like I was about to cry. And I was like, "I'm done."
Yeah, I can completely relate to that 100%. I got it just before lockdown, and I thought, this is it. This is going to be my 2020 project. This is going to take me till Christmas, and then I'll see beyond that if I can get another Titan. And then lockdown happened, and we had even more time on our hands, and painting it, building it every day a little bit, not rushing it, just to try and make it last and enjoy it. And I think it took about 4 months.
That's not bad at all. The fact is, again, you took your time, you had fun, and there's a reason we say the Titan ownership is a journey. When you look at it, the process from build to paint should never be a sprint. You should never really come into it with the goal of finishing in a week. Yeah. It should be a marathon that you thoroughly enjoy.
And I found myself at times wanting to rush it just because I was enjoying it so much. And I made sure that it wasn't possible to do that. And it meant, like, JB welding parts and clamping them, and that's it. That's that done till morning. I can't do anything else. Really deliberately trying to slow the pace down a little bit. I was finding myself spending like 9 hours a day painting and going, no, stop, slow down.
9 hours a day. Please tell me you at least took some time to eat and drink.
At times, no. At times, I started it in the morning, I'll do an hour, and then I've looked up and it's 6 p.m. And I've gone, oh, gee, where did the day go?
That's dedication, to say the least.
I switch off. I put YouTube on, watch some battle reports and various things, and I just completely switch off.
Well, now you've got a new series you can listen to, and of course you've got the idea now that also you can go grab the audiobooks that feature the Titans, and you can do that while you paint. Heavily recommend Honor to the Dead. That is probably the best Titan audio drama ever. I will actually go out on a limb and say it's the best audio that Black Library has produced, period.
And I've not heard of one.
It is an amazing audio drama. You cannot go wrong with it. It tells anyone who got to the Shadow and Iron book already knew how the book was going to start, because Shadow and Iron starts with what is effectively the slaughter at Ithaca. Right. Honor to the Dead is actually the opening stages of the battle for Ithaca City, and what happens with the Eratan, and effectively the near annihilation of the Legio Praesagius.
Right.
And it's beautifully told, but it has an amazing human element as well. And so it's a very well-weaved story. And you see that in Titanicus as well. It's always interesting that the best Titan stories really still have that human element heavily built in.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, your own journey as a Titan owner seem to be following that. You have a very human element to your journey as well. As you've said, sacrificed a lot of things to make sure that you had the finances to do this while still getting the bills paid. You've battled through health issues to do this, and that is honestly inspiring.
Yeah, the doctors told me I wouldn't be able to do it. They said pretty much, we don't think you'll be able to paint after your operations. And I was like, well, we'll see, shall we? And it made me even more determined, if I'm honest.
And here you are, using it in a therapeutic manner.
Yeah, absolutely. It is therapy for me.
So, you've definitely had your journey, and you've done amazing things with it. What advice would you give to new Titan owners, or to those in a similar situation as you, that they may have a physical condition that it could help them? Actually, what advice would you give them?
I think the best advice would be to reach out to people in the community, and because not everyone knows exactly what's involved when it comes to Titan building, and it is, we know, it can be quite troublesome. So, and everyone's different as well, so it depends on each individual case, obviously. But yeah, I think talk to the community. I mean, everybody is so approachable, and that's one of the things that I was really blown away with. That this group, this club, so different to any other club I've ever been in. There's no egos, you know. There's no my bank balance is bigger than your bank balance, and whether you've got a warhound or a warlord, everyone's welcome. And I was welcomed into the club with no Titans, so I didn't have my Reaver at the time.
Well, Titans are Titans. You gotta love them anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely no ego whatsoever. People are so friendly and so approachable. That yeah, if you want to start this journey and you don't think, or you think there's a problem that maybe you won't be able to get one built, reach out, because there might be somebody in your town who will go, I'll come round and help you, which is what I found. Not in my town, but near people relatively close would volunteer to come, like from Nottingham, and yeah.
Do you have any advice from the build perspective itself? Like, you know, make sure you're doing certain things. I know one piece that I got when I was first touching my Warlord came from a friend that was like, hey, don't forget the piston rings when you put the legs to the hips. I'd slap the JB quick weld on there because that particular joint really needs the JB quick weld. You don't want to do your steel reinforced and wait for 12 hours. Too much goes wrong too easily. And I was like, okay, cool, we're good. And I looked at it and I noticed the piston rings weren't on there and I freaked out. Because you have 5 minutes to put that in there. And I used 2.5-inch screws coated on the threads with that JB quick weld. So I made sure it wasn't coming down. So the joint had the JB quick weld and the threaded screws had the JB quick weld. You can bet my heart was racing as I was going to undo it because I was about halfway through the setting time. So I got lucky.
Yeah.
So I mean, we all have those stories. So what's maybe your build advice as well?
Just do your research. There's plenty of articles on the Titan Owners Club blog, isn't there? And there's YouTube, which is, I watched all the Titan videos, I think, on YouTube, you know, so it really does help. And invest in the right tools as well. Don't do it. You'd be surprised at how many people try and do things on the cheap and not invest. You've just spent all this money on a really nice kit and then I'll just super glue it. And it, you know, it might work for a little time, but I wouldn't really want to game with something and move it around if it's just super glued. And not pinned or anything like that. People don't. There's a lot of people that don't pin or don't even clamp, don't have clamps, and don't clamp the parts together. It's little things that make all the difference.
Yeah.
You know, I took my Titans to armies on parade, and I was still scared they were going to fall apart.
To be fair, I'm sitting there with inch-long screws in the ankle joints of the Warlord, and 1/2 inch in the knees, 2.5 inch in the hips, and using JB steel weld on most of those except for the hip joint. And I know the strength in them. I know I've over-engineered it. I'm a civil engineer, and so I'm familiar with what I'm doing, especially on load-bearing parts, but that terror is always there.
Yeah, you feel it, don't you? Like, oh, it could break. And you know it's probably not going to, but that fear is there.
Part of it is your brain says that's a lot of money, but the majority of you is not actually worried about the money at all, because you don't see it too much as an investment. You see it as a labor of love. Absolutely. Your bigger worry is watching your hard-fought work get messed up, especially because that's your big resin baby.
Yeah, and I've had problems as well. Like I told you about my hands not being great. Sometimes they cramp up, they're numb, so I don't always feel exactly how much pressure I'm putting on something. And I actually did drop my Reaver.
Oh no!
A week into the build, I'd done the legs and I dropped it, and it all came apart. Like, oh, you know, where it was welded was fine, but it split the resin elsewhere.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, we rebuilt it, and you can't tell by looking at it that there's anything there's ever been wrong with it. So
you took a rough moment and turned it into the $6 million Reaver?
Yeah, it was a day. That was a day I wouldn't like to ever repeat. I'll tell you. I was like, oh no.
I imagine it taught you a lot, though, right?
you get that feeling of the kit's going to go in the bin now. This is not fixable. Especially all the pistons smashed, and we had all the pistons laid out and rebuilding them all. Like that bit goes on that one, and it was just a complete nightmare. But we did it. You know, it added a bit of time to the build.
Good.
We got through it.
Well, as we start to wind down, I have to ask the last, certainly not least, and always favorite question. Okay. Any shout-outs, challenges, bellowing threats to somebody who's earned your ire over the years?
Definitely no challenges or threats, but, you know, I would like to shout out a couple of people. There's Leiden from the Titan Owners Club UK. He was the guy that I contacted, and he was the guy that pretty much started my Titan journey, really. I think if he'd have said, to be honest, mate, I don't think you'll be able to do this, I wouldn't have a Titan today. And he was one of the ones that was like, absolutely go for it. And we've got the club behind you if you get stuck. So him and Mark Wingrove as well from Titan Owners Club both offered their services to come and help me if I got stuck. And then there's another guy off Instagram that I follow called Mark. It was a Kerrol Red 30k. And he's been absolutely brilliant with helping me, like certain elements of my paint schemes I was struggling with, like deco work, the transfer work. I'd never done it before, and he helped me with loads of little tips. So yeah, my Titans wouldn't be what they are without those guys.
Well, definitely a big thank you to them, and a big thank you to you for taking a little bit of time out of your day and sitting with us in the hot seat. It was certainly a pleasure, Adie.
I love Titans so much, and I could talk about them all day. So YouTube wouldn't be big enough.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.